So get ready, because there's going to be a lot of information here, particularly when it comes to AI, and we promise it's not as scary as you think yet. Here's a little information about JourneyTEAM. We've been around since 1993, so this is our 30th year, and we are a certified Microsoft partner, and we are always growing to offer better solutions to our clients. We have 9 Microsoft Solution Partner specializations and over 150 people on the team now. And here are some of the awards and recognition that we've received over the years, including the Microsoft Inner Circle, which only the top 1% of Microsoft partners achieve. And this is where JourneyTEAM can help you across the Microsoft tech stack. There's a lot going on there, but it's one of the reasons that we like to help people. And here are our presenters. I'm your host, Shay Drake, Marketing Director here at JourneyTEAM. And with me, we have many of our experts here and to go over each of their expertises. And we have Dan Brown, our Enterprise ERP Director, Brandon Gordon, our Head of CRM, Reese Briggs, one of our Cloud Solutions Architects, Kevin Zollinger with our Content and Collaboration Management team, Jason Fife with our Data Engineering team, Preston Reynolds, our Head of Business Intelligence, Greg Crandall, our Head of ERP, and Nate Johnson, our IT Supervisor. Here's our agenda for today. As you can see, we definitely have a lot to cover and just under an hour to do it. So we'll begin with Power BI. Take it away, Preston.
Okay, thank you, Shay. For those of you who've not already begun using Power BI, we're going to talk about this for a moment. I want to show you a nice little chart. So you'll see along the bottom of this chart what Gartner calls the completeness of vision. And along the left-hand side of this chart, you'll see what they call ability to execute. Now, the closer you get to this dot way up here, the closer you are to being the world's most awesome analytics business intelligence platform. Now, you may notice what I'm leading you to infer here, but if not, here's another thought for you. Those here in this circle kind of represent the rest of the pack. And you can see that little yellow circle circling the pack. And way up here, you've got Microsoft. And this, they're basically the company that everybody else wants to be. And they've been in this position for the last 8 years. So yes, Power BI is pretty freaking awesome. And just to reinforce that awesomeness, here are a couple updates to talk you through. So now you can create Power BI reports within a Jupyter notebook. This is pretty cool. For those of you out there who are using Jupyter notebooks to clean and extract your data, this is for you. So you're now able to create Power BI reports directly from within your Jupyter notebook. Power BI's visualization library is impressive and expansive. After performing some pretty advanced statistical analyses, I can now say that building beautiful visualizations in Jupyter notebooks is exactly 1 trillion times faster than doing so in ggplot2. I don't know if you out there are probably some of you out there who are big fans of ggplot2. This is a little bit faster, also very customizable. I've spent more time than I tried to talk about learning the grammar of graphics to build nice charts in Jupyter notebooks. And now you can eat your cake and have it too when you build the Power BI reports right inside your Jupyter notebooks. So pretty cool things going on there. Next up, I want to talk to you about Apple. Okay, now there are some people on my team who might just die to know I put an Apple logo on the screen of a Microsoft presentation. However, here's why we're talking about Apple. From the beginning of time, Apple lovers have really been unable to use Power BI on their desktop computers. And that's largely because Power BI hasn't run on an Apple computer. And Microsoft has long promised the day will soon come when Mac users no longer have to live in constant sadness. And my friends, the day is here. And the reason that is because you can now, in preview mode, edit your data model in the service. This is a big deal. As we move closer toward everything running out of a web browser, Power BI is finally making the jump to the last big components of building a data model or building a Power BI report and having that happen all in the cloud. So Mac users and anyone else who wants to can now in preview build reports right in the browser without having to install Power BI Desktop. Pretty freaking cool. So go on to our next little topic here. Okay, we've just released some new courses on JourneyTEAM University. And for those of you who are watching today, you can get any or all of our super awesome Power BI training classes at the nice discount of 37% off. So this ends next Friday. So whether we're talking about sourcing your data or telling a compelling story through engaging visualizations, we've got you covered in these courses. Use this code as many times as you'd like. and get them for a steal of a deal. So go to university.journeyteam.com and you'll be able to see all that we've got going on there. And last but not least, we've got an upcoming ChatGPT webinar. And what does the modern workplace look like in the land of AI? So we're going to be working on a pretty cool crash course of ChatGPT in the next coming weeks. So we'll be covering what it is, what it isn't, and what's coming down the pike for your business. Make sure you fill out the survey at the end of today's session so that you can get an invite to that. And we'll talk about all this new world-changing tech. AI is going to be is not going anywhere. It's going to be more and more prevalent in our lives, and I think for the better. But there are some things we need to talk about. So sign up for that webinar. We're excited to have you there. All right, I'm handing it off now to Mr. Kevin Zollinger, I believe.
Okay, so we are going to talk today about AI. And as Shay said, AI is kind of the flavor of the week everywhere. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means in the Microsoft world. And so there are three versions of AI that we want to talk about. The first is ChatGPT. Preston talked about their webinar, their use of ChatGPT. Microsoft has Copilot, and it has Bing Chat, and they're different things, and it's important that we understand that they're different things. Bing Chat is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, and it lives in Edge at Bing, and it can talk about all sorts of public information, stuff that everybody has access to. The nice thing about Chat in Bing is that it has up-to-date information. So if you went and asked it who won the NBA game last night, it would come back and tell you who won the game and then give you some links out to additional information. It's updated every day. Copilot, on the other hand, lives inside your enterprise. It knows all there is to know about your organization. And when you think about how powerful that is, you might find yourself as amazed as I am. Copilot inside your tenant has information to documents, emails, chats, meetings, SharePoint, Power Apps, meaning the Dataverse, Graph, and a bunch more. So if you have content in your tenant that is important to your organization and you ask Copilot about it, Copilot can tell you what it all means. And we're going to have some really specific examples a little bit later. But that sometimes causes people to be a little concerned about. The truth of the matter is you don't have very much to be worried about because Copilot is security trimmed. And by security trimmed, I mean that when I, as a user, am using Copilot, I only have information to the information that I have access to. I'm not going to see information that Mr. Gorton over here has access to that's secret. It's just me. And so Copilot is security trimmed to you and will only show you things that you have access to. That's a very powerful and important distinction between what Copilot does and what ChatGPT does. You're not going to give up company secrets because Copilot knows about it. I see that there's already a question about that in the chat. I'll get to it just as soon as I'm done here. Okay, next slide. So here's Microsoft Viva. Viva is an important part of the Microsoft world, and we think that it is something that you need to be aware of. And so first of all, let's talk about what Viva is. When you look at Viva and all the marketing material, you may come to the conclusion that Viva is 5, 6, or 7, depending on how you count, modules that don't really talk to each other and aren't really related. When you step back and take a bigger look at what Viva is, it can become a cohesive way for you to launch a strategic initiative. It takes you from telling the story and winning hearts and minds to measuring how well we did. Viva is going to change your life if you'll lean into it. Okay, so details about Viva. First thing is Viva's been on sale. That sale ends July 1st. After July 1st, it goes up about 25%, depending on what you're doing with it. The second thing that happens July 1st is they're adding Glint as a first-party citizen to Viva. Now, Glint has been powering a lot of the stuff that we see in Viva Insights or have seen in Viva Insights, but as of the 1st, you'll be able to use Glint as a first-party citizen in Viva. And I think that's a great opportunity for you to reach out and take the pulse of the folks in your organization to see how they're doing, see what their state of mind is. So with that, we're going to talk about how Copilot gets locked into the different modules in Viva. If we're talking about goals, which is OKRs, objectives and key indicators, key results, Viva with Copilot will suggest to you what your goals might be based on company information. So it'll look at your PowerPoints, it'll look at your chats, it'll look at your meetings, and it'll say, okay, we think you're working on this stuff, and so maybe you want to use this as an objective or a key indicator. In Engage with Copilot, when people ask questions in the Engage modules, Copilot is going to say, okay, I think this person's the expert, and then it will, to that expert, suggest, here is a way that you might answer it, and I'm going to give you the sources that I used to come up with that answer. And so your experts can very easily give a very comprehensive answer to a question that's been asked. In Viva Learn, the Copilot will suggest learning collections for your people based on what their job titles are, and to individual people talk about things that they can do to be better at what their role or see to their development needs. In Topics, employees will be able to use a conversational interface to learn more about whatever that topic is. And Topics are hyper powerful. As you look at what Topics can do for your organization, it can make you be a lot more effective, because suddenly information is at their fingertips about what your company does. And Topics are custom to your company, built by AI already. And so those are super exciting. The last thing that I want to talk about with this thing here is that Answers is rolling out in Viva right now. If you have the Viva Suite or Viva Topics, you'll have Answers, and Answers, to use Microsoft's words, is a rich AI to surface and match employee questions and answers to experts, bringing collective knowledge to work for everyone. So once again, it takes us from tribal knowledge to institutional knowledge in a way that's seamless and very intuitive. Okay, so that leads us to an announcement. We have a Viva Sherpa coming up in June sometime. We don't yet have the exact date. It will be 11 workshops, each workshop 90 minutes. Each workshop is followed by 11 two-hour office hours blocks. It will weave into Viva the JourneyTEAM adoption and change management framework. Between the two, between Viva to roll out your strategic initiative and the adoption and change management framework, you can be assured that whatever your initiative is will be successful and that you will get the result that you want. That link there will get you to a form where you can share your name and your email address with us. We will then send you more information about the Sherpa program as we finish up defining it. And most importantly, we have to define dates. We're working around the July 4th holiday, and so that becomes a bit of a complication. But we'll get that information to you. That form and your email addresses will be destroyed as soon as we send you that information. So you're not going to end up on a bunch of mailing lists because you put your name into that form. And the last thing about that form is there's no obligation. We just want to give you some information about it, gauge your interest in learning more about how you can use Viva to empower and engage your employees. So let's move on and talk about collaboration and content management and Copilot there. So we talked about the fact that Copilot has access to all of your corporate or organizational data, anything that's in your tenant. And when we start to surface Copilot in the Office 365 apps, suddenly you can do things like this. In Excel, you might say, analyze this quarter's results and identify 3 trends. That is something that would take me, knowing that I'm not an accountant, years. And Copilot's going to give you that answer back in just a few minutes. In PowerPoint, you might say, create a presentation to present the findings of last night's after action review. So maybe we had something happen. We had an after action meeting. There were some chats, there were some emails, there were some PowerPoints. You can then use Copilot and PowerPoint to create a deck that you can then share with the greater organization about what happened. Let's say that you took a vacation. You could come back and tell Outlook, summarize the emails I missed while I was out last week, flag any important items. That reminds me of a comic that I can't share because we don't have a license for it, where the one guy says, yeah, I can take this one bullet point and blow it up to a long paragraph. And somebody else is saying, look, I can take this long paragraph and sum it down to a bullet point. That's what it'll do for you in Outlook. In Teams, you might say, as you join a meeting late, summarize what I missed in this meeting, what points I've made so far, where do we disagree on this topic? So instead of saying, catch me up, you could have Copilot catch you up. So that's it for the apps and Copilot. Copilot will also power the new business chat application. You can find it right now at bing.com and Microsoft365.com, and it will be surfaced in Teams later. The idea here is that you can talk to Copilot in Teams, do all the same sorts of things that we just talked about in the apps, but in Teams, and get the answer back as text. I think that could be extremely life-changing for us. A new change has come to OneDrive for Business. You'll have a home page where all of your files are shared in one view. It'll show stuff that you've shared with other people and stuff that other people have shared with you. It'll show you information from your SharePoint teams. It'll show you all the information that you have access to in one place. And there's AI there. I was getting ready for a meeting just this week, and as I hit OneDrive, it popped up and said, hey, you've got a meeting in 10 minutes. This document might be helpful. And it turns out it was. So that's awesome. Microsoft Loop is a new piece of technology that was announced just this last quarter. If you visit JourneyTEAM.com or find the Journey Team channel on YouTube, you can find a quick 4 or 5 minute video on what Loop is and what it does for you. It's currently in Word, Teams, and Outlook, and it's going to be in more places soon. Microsoft has been working on Loop for a long time, and I think that work shows. I think it's a great tool that you can use to better collaborate with your teams. The next thing is Copilot will show up in SharePoint. This is coming out, they say, by the end of the year. And the idea is you will describe to Copilot what you want your SharePoint page to do, and it will create that page for you. Seems to me like that's going to be almost magic. I'm excited to see it. As always, the execution will be in the details, or the details will be in the execution. But this should remove a lot of the drudgery from sharing content with your communities. The last SharePoint news is there's a new start page coming. This will be customized to you. It will be information that you have used, that you have published, or that Copilot thinks is important to you. It will be a great way for you to have a place to start your day surrounded by the content that matters. Okay, so let's talk teams and let's talk avatars. The new Teams preview has been out now for about a month. Everybody has access to it. I'm interested. Are you using the new Teams preview, and what do you think of it? I love its super fast speed. I love how quickly you can join a meeting. What do you think about it? If you love it, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you don't love it, give me a thumbs down. I don't know if that even exists. If you don't love it, I'm sorry. Also coming soon is avatars. And if I were really brave, I would change to my avatar while I talk. I don't think I can do that much all at once, and so I'm not going to do it. But avatars are fun, and it's a point of some discussion in the collaboration and content management team. There are those that think avatars are silly and those that think that they're great. Drop a note in the chat if you're excited about using avatars. And then coming in June, search improvements. Those are going to be great because it'll help you find the information that you need. I will tell you that avatar that you're looking at is skinnier than me. It's better looking than me. And I did that only because I'm sitting next to Brandon and I wanted to kind of keep up with him. And I will turn the microphone over to the awesome Brandon Gordon.
All right. So keeping up with the Copilot and AI kind of conversations, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Viva Sales as well as some of the Copilot features and capabilities inside the Dynamics Marketing module. So first of all, talking a little bit about Viva Sales. So how does it work? So Viva Sales is powered by Copilot. So for those that have Viva Sales installed and they're using it within their specific environments, you'll notice that when you go and use the Viva Sales module, it'll say, hey, do you want to generate, do you want to preview these Copilot features, so on and so forth. So it's getting a little confusing as far as how Microsoft is branding it, but Viva Sales is powered by Copilot, and Copilot is powered by the AI and the generative assistant, ChatGPT, and so on and so forth. Who gets it? So with Viva Sales, so if you have a Dynamics CRM Sales Enterprise level license, you have Viva Sales already included. You don't need to pay for an additional license. It's just a matter of applying it in your team's environment, and you're off to the races. So if for your users that have the Sales Enterprise level license, they can also just download Viva Sales directly. It doesn't need to be pushed from the environment. So those are a couple things that are available with Viva Sales and with Dynamics CRM and the Sales Enterprise level license. So the next thing is that Viva Sales works not only with Dynamics CRM, but it also works with Salesforce. So, and you can purchase a license for Viva Sales specifically at $40 a user for that specific license. So they're trying to make Viva Sales work kind of a little bit agnostic as far as what CRM platform you're using. And obviously there's a little bit more capability on the Dynamics CRM side. So what it looks like, so with Viva Sales, so as you can see, I am showing the Outlook web client. Viva Sales also works with the desktop client as well. And you can see here, my first email that I sent into my demo users that I did a request for 100 Nike Air Jordans and 50 units of Adidas Superstars. So just to kind of play around with as far as what Viva Sales can do for me. So this can be pretty powerful. So on the right, I'm already showing kind of, I've skipped a step, but you'll initially be presented with a handful of options as far as how you want Viva Sales to interact with this data. So first of all, I can have it as far as options, right? I could describe the email that I would like, and that way it's just going to take an input, and then the AI is going to take that input and generate an email response. There's also pre-canned responses like reply to an inquiry, offer a discount, make a proposal, and address a concern. So I have selected, in my example that you're seeing on the screen on the right, is I have selected make a proposal. So you can see here it identified my email, and the items in blue, that's pulling from data sources that I have access to. So pulling from data that I have access to inside of my CRM environment. So the specific CRM environment, not to mention the data that I have permissions to. So you can see here it identified, you see Nike Air Jordans is highlighted in blue. It knows that that's a product inside of my CRM environment. And it's giving me this number as far as $4,500 as far as kind of pre-populating a quote and estimate for this. This is a little misleading. It's not automatically generating the number and kind of the quoted dollars. It's because I have an opportunity product in my CRM system that has those same line items. And so it's kind of pulling from that. But I think it's really powerful because you can kind of see where they're trying to go, right? So I would love for it to be able to point it to like, hey, I want you to do the calculations based on these specific products, but it's looking at an existing opportunity and the products associated with that opportunity, but it's still really powerful. In this case, this is an initial response, but maybe this was a follow-up from a customer and they're asking for details about their order and it would give them those details. Maybe as you're still working on it or the quote, so on and so forth, or maybe additional pricing. And the last item in blue that you can see from my response is that Tuesday the 16th at 8 a.m. So you can see this one is pulling from data source, not from CRM, but it's pulling that from my Outlook calendar. So you can combine different, it'll pull from different tables inside of your CRM system. It'll also pull from your Outlook calendar as far as availability. So pretty cool that it can kind of do this. Again, kind of the intent is that it gives you up and running and, it might be 80% of what you can use and you just kind of tweak it from there. And then I will say, be careful with offer a discount. It seems to be very generous with those discounts. So as you play around with that, let me know kind of what your what your experience is. Next up, so what I wanted to cover is Copilot is coming, kind of like what Kevin was talking about, is Copilot is coming to a number of different Dynamics offerings and modules. So it's coming for sales, customer service, marketing, business central, finance and supply chain. So it's coming, but as a partner, like we only have access to a couple of these features. But what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about what's coming to the marketing module. So again, what is Copilot? It's business process-oriented AI assistance. And the two features of Copilot that are scheduled to be released are related to building your segmentation inside the marketing module. So think of your marketing lists. So a better way to do that, there's already some kind of natural language stuff in there, but as for those that have used it, it's pretty hit or miss. So with AI, we'll get an improved natural language selector as far as building those segmentations, as well as generating email content. So I can't show the segmentation builder, but I can show the email content one. And what this looks like is I got a screenshot on the left where you can kind of see I got that content ideas. And so inside of the market, like I got my marketing email pulled up, I hit content ideas and it'll take 3 inputs. And I can even add 2 additional inputs and it'll take all those inputs and it'll draft an email message related to the combination of all these inputs. This works really, really well. I wish Viva Sales had this type of feature because the more inputs you have, the much higher quality the content that it'll generate for you. So in this case, I've given it some inputs like, thank you for subscribing to our launch event. Our new camel colorway for our sneakers, for our best-selling sneakers is coming out, and take advantage of the limited edition sneaker. And you can see here, it's a little tiny, but as you get a copy of the slide deck, you can kind of see is that it will generate some pretty cool content, and it'll give you 5 different options of this content. And then let's say each of those options, maybe you still don't kind of like the content that it's generating. You can keep generating it in groupings of 5 until you find something that gets you 80% of the way there, or something that you're really satisfied with. You can also, it includes dynamic content. So it's not just generating the email content and giving you the option to insert it, right? And then you got to go update where you want the dynamic content. As you can see, it's tiny, but you can see where it will automatically ingest with the appropriate parameters dynamic content that it wants to use based off of your data in the marketing environment. Data associated to your contact first name, maybe associated to their account, company name, so on and so forth. So really cool that it can do this, and you can just drag this over into your email wherever you would like. So this is available now. For those that have the Dynamics marketing module, play around with it. It's on the marketing email record. And next up, so what we're trying to have a webinar. It's going to be covering additional features related to Viva Sales and Copilot, and that's going to be in July. And so we're going to be kind of diving a little bit more into as far as what's available from a marketing perspective. And Microsoft should have more Copilot features in preview at that time, or even general release. And so we want to do a showcase as far as everything that's available at that time that you can get access to, and kind of what the capabilities are and how it can save you time and give value back to your end users. And with that, I will hand over the remote to Reese.
All right. I've got 2 quick general updates, then we'll dive into Zero Trust and 3 related updates to Microsoft Azure AD. All right. So object attributes continue to be important to Microsoft, and as the cloud team, we still love and support on-prem as we all migrate to the cloud. There are new options around on-premise extension attributes. This can help you target specific users with configurations across Azure AD and enterprise apps. We then have a My Groups update. Get your users to help themselves using cloud groups and the new My Groups portal. Microsoft is giving a facelift to the user tools for viewing the groups they own, groups they are in, and managing requests for joining groups. Go to mygroups.microsoft.com and hit the try the preview button. Big thing today is Zero Trust. What is Zero Trust? Why it matters to you? You're going to want to focus in on 3 key ideas of Zero Trust. Verify that people are who they say they are. Restrict access to the content required. Assume breach and minimize access for an attacker. Microsoft has defined pillars for planning your Zero Trust implementation. You can see those on the screen. They cover big areas: identity, endpoint, applications, data, and network. Today's world of work means a huge amount of data, and hybrid work, protecting access from the office, homes, and coffee shops. And most importantly, Microsoft and JourneyTEAM have detected attackers trying new things in all of these areas. JourneyTEAM is committed to helping your organization make the most out of your investment in Microsoft 365. As such, our cloud team is looking to help your organization adopt Zero Trust guiding principles focused around Microsoft technologies. In a presentation to Microsoft partners, Microsoft referenced 2 impactful ways to protect your organization from possible attacks: risk-based conditional access policies. Premium P2 tenants who use risk-based conditional access policies under Zero Trust remediate user risk 140 times faster than Plan 2 tenants who don't use risk-based conditional access. Mean time to remediate is 2.5 minutes for tenants using risk-based conditional access versus 5.9 hours for tenants that don't. So let Microsoft do the hard work for you. They're always up, they're always on, 24/7, 365. JourneyTEAM is ready to help you build a plan to implement all the technology that comes with your Microsoft licensing. It can feel like there are too many things to know where to start. Let our expertise and experience supercharge your efforts at your company. Next are 3 new updates in this Zero Trust space. And here's a quick screenshot. This is one of the implementation plans that we put together for, and that we reference with Microsoft, where they can break it down over the calendar year and help you focus on different areas. Okay, so 3 new changes. Azure AD PIM alerts. Step 1, get permanent roles out of here. Use privileged identity management to have admins validate their access on demand. Step 2, use the new alert dashboard to see things assigned outside of PIM and other built-in alerts from Microsoft. You used to get these in your email. You can now have a single place to look at them in the dashboard. Protected actions are for areas of Azure AD that are being targeted by specific role items like updating conditional access policies. That extra layer can be configured to meet your CA policy requirements, requiring that admins validate their identity before they make changes here, stopping an attacker from making sweeping changes to the login for your systems. And then next is token protection. All right, so bad actors are trying new things like stealing an already signed in section. Oop, there it went, and it's back. Protect those tokens with this new conditional access configuration to tie the session to the device. We have 3 great assessments that you can have us complete with your team: identity, access management, Exchange Online, Microsoft 365 tenant health check. These all help with your zero trust implementation and will identify the next steps for your team in your path to protecting your environment and empowering your users to get work done. With that, I'll hand it over to Jason.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about Azure Data and AI. Azure Data and AI is part of the Microsoft Cloud business. And I'd have to admit that I've considered myself a data engineer, and I've replaced the and in data and AI with or. So it's either data or AI, but the year is 2023, and it's definitely data and AI. So a little confession there. If you go to the Microsoft.com website and click Microsoft Cloud, you find this: the era of AI is now. So AI is hot. It's kind of like the hot new restaurant that you've been waiting to come to town. And it's amazing to see some of these restaurants will have lines going out into the parking lot and up the street. And I'm wondering, wow, what is so good in there that would cause people to wait in line? So today, AI is hot and salacious, kind of like that restaurant that you've been waiting to come to town, except for it's available for everyone. So at this point, we know that AI is not going away. It's not a trend or a fad. It's here to stay. Okay, so if you take a look at ChatGPT, it only took 5 days to reach 1 million users, which is the record by far. If you consider YouTube and Facebook, how long it took each of them to reach 100 million users, it took each of them 4 years. ChatGPT only took 2 months to reach 100 million users. So everyone is talking about ChatGPT. In the last month, there was 1 billion visits, which is amazing to think about. So this chart I like not only because Bert from Bert and Ernie is on there, but also Transformers, okay, which I love. The media today makes it seem like AI was just invented a few months ago this year. Something interesting in this chart is that points out that AI was first coined in 1956. Another interesting thing about this chart is there are ebbs and flows. There are some periods called AI winters, such as in the 1970s, where progression and funding dropped and there wasn't much going on, as well as just before 1990. Well, now we're in what many are calling an AI spring, where funding is ramping up and as well as the progression. So here's another chart that's interesting. Until about 2017, human performance was better than AI performance. Well, today, 3 out of 5 AI categories have now surpassed human performance. But this graph is 3 years old, so we expect to see dramatic improvements in those 3 areas as well. If you take a look at the purple language understanding category, that's where ChatGPT falls under. And you can see that if you look at the year 2020, you can start to see the hockey stick ramp up. And that's again 3 years ago. I just listened to a Buck Woody podcast. I love him. He's a Microsoft data guy, data scientist. And he said that he was recently asked, when will we know when we have arrived with AI? And Buck's response was a Buck Woody response. He said, when we stop talking about it. So, for example, he gave the example for image recognition and OCR. That's kind of been, okay, a previous iteration of AI, but it's mainstream. It's something we just expect in our everyday life. Note that things started to change around the year 2017. Okay, so Microsoft knew something back in 2017, and they made AI a top priority, even replacing mobile. And this was about the same time that I proudly held a Windows phone, the greatest phone ever. The problem is, I think I was the only person on earth who considered a Windows phone the greatest phone ever. And probably a good thing because Microsoft diverted funding away from the phone and into AI. So some examples of AI in the Azure data stack. One would be Dynamics Customer Insights, and the other that's recently been released in preview is Change Data Capture, found as a part of the Synapse Analytics data pipeline as well as Data Factory. So Customer Insights brings multiple customer data sources into one common data model, and you're able to leverage built-in AI models that provide predictive analytics. And all of this allows you to gain a 360-degree view of customers to know how best to reach them as they take next steps. This next slide shows the recent features implemented in Customer Insights. The interesting thing to note here is that many of the new features are built-in AI, predictions or machine learning, custom prediction, natural language with Copilot. Data and AI are brought together to provide new and better ways to drive sales through seeing customers in a whole new way. Okay, so this is change data capture as shown in Azure Data Factory, where change data capture can be configured via the wizard experience without needing to design a pipeline or activity. And you're only billed on the compute when your data is being processed. Here's a list of data sources available for data change data capture. And you might say that, well, many of these data platforms are just part of the Microsoft ecosystem. We're building out solutions where we can configure and leverage change data capture looking at an ADLS Gen 2 storage container while maintaining and building a separate data pipeline pulling from API payloads as JSON files into that ADLS Gen 2 storage location. And then that's where change data capture would be streaming data in as it's changed. So here are just two examples of how Azure integrates AI into its solutions. Customer Insights and Change Data Capture are two of those examples that show how Microsoft has embraced and integrated AI into data technologies for some time now. And based on the partnership and tight integration with OpenAI, that progression will continue. Just lastly, I just want to make a plug on a solution that we're offering. It's called Data Lakehouse Fast Track. There's the perception in some business that data warehouses take too long or too expensive to build, but we're able to build out a complete solution in just 4 to 6 weeks at low cost to give your business quick results. So if you're interested in that or talking about it to see how it fits for you, please reach out and let us know. Now with that, I'll turn the time over to Greg, or Nate, I'm sorry.
Welcome, welcome. Today I'm going to talk about a tool that has been around for a while, but you may not know exists. It's the Microsoft Adoption Score. So as you know, it's important to leverage the right tools in today's technology-driven world. And often when we implement new technology in our organization, it's important that our team buys in on it in order to fully reap the benefits. And that's where the Microsoft Adoption Score comes in, provided as a metric for you so you can understand how your organization is embracing and utilizing Microsoft products that you may have implemented in your company. The score can be a compass for you to help you navigate and understand employee adoption and usage. There are times often where we invest months, years, time and money into a new technology only to find that it unfortunately goes unused and eventually becomes scrapped or replaced. We lose out on all that time and money as a result, and it's often a bummer for most companies when this takes place. So the Microsoft Adoption Score comes in, helps assess and provides insights on how your employees are adopting this technology. It identifies areas of success that requires attention and areas where you may be failing as well. So in understanding these scores, you can drive positive change. So we're going to go over quickly about which products are covered in these score. Microsoft 365 takes the primary focus, which includes applications everyone knows, Outlook, Word, Excel, etc. It also extends into Azure services, including Azure Active Directory and Azure Virtual Machines, so you can understand how your users are embracing the cloud. And finally, Dynamics 365 is covered. And overall, this adoption score provides a holistic view on understanding and how these can be employed in your company. You can see, often we have a small frame of reference. We don't fully see the big picture across all our departments, all our teams, and how they're using this technology when we implement it. So that's where the Microsoft Adoption Score helps us widen that frame of reference and allows us to understand what we can do to improve things, such as training specific departments that might need it, enhancing collaboration and communication, improving our productivity throughout the company, and allowing us to support digital transformation initiatives. The adoption score uses machine learning algorithms to intelligently combine various factors to generate this score. It takes data from user activity, features that may or may not be being used, how your team is collaborating, and then a data analysis in order to fully make up that score. So let's dig into how you can find this score. It's in the Microsoft Admin Center on the top, the left navigation tab under Reports. There's Adoption Score. And the first time you come here, if you do not yet have this enabled, you will see a little paragraph asking you to enable it. You just select Enable, and within 24 hours, it'll calculate your score, and you'll see a dashboard that looks just like this. So we're going to break this down just a bit real quick, give you a quick tutorial. On the top left, you see Overview and Actions. Overview gives you every single experience score, and we're going to go into that a little bit more as well. Actions will tell you what you can do to improve those scores. On the right, you can see your total score, what all these make up to. And under each of these individually, you can also see a little gray line that shows your peer benchmark. It will compare your data compared to other companies at your size, so you can see how you're doing overall. So let's go ahead and select the Actions tab there. And this is what this ends up looking like. You can see individual actions with their related categories, metrics, and descriptions. And if we select one of these, you will see specific information on what you can do to improve that score. So in this case, encourage people to create files in SharePoint or OneDrive. And it tells you exactly what you need to do. Go ahead and create the message. And you can also see at the bottom the related insight related to that and to why you may have that. So let's go back to our main dashboard here. Okay. So you can see here that these individual scores are broken up into experiences. On the right, you see people experiences and technology experiences. People experiences include communication, meetings, content collaboration, teamwork, and mobility. And this is what your users are experiencing. And if we scroll down, we can see the technology experiences as well in purple. See endpoint analytics, network productivity, Microsoft 365 app health. So let's go ahead and select one of these. Let's go ahead and scroll back up, and we're going to select our lowest score, meetings, 31 out of 100 points. So if we click on that, it shows us what is causing this score to take place, what makes up our score. You can see the setup, meetup, follow-up, specific information as to why you may have a low score and what you can do to improve that. So if we scroll down on this page, you have a lot more graphs and charts that tells you what you need to do in order to improve. And I want to mention also at the top of this page, it gives you the option to zero in into specific departments if you have that enabled. And you can also go according to like 30 days, 90 days, 120 days. It gives you an option to get specific information that you're looking for. And scrolling down even more, you have more graphs and charts. So there's a lot of information here, a lot of steps that you can take in order to improve specific adoption within your company. And so that's pretty much the Microsoft adoption score. I think it's a fantastic compass for success in your adoption journey of Microsoft products, and I invite you to incorporate that score into your organization in order to harness it for a more transformative future. And if you have any questions or need assistance understanding or enabling this tool, please reach out to our experts at JourneyTEAM for assistance on how to enable and utilize it in your environments. And with that, I will turn the time over to Greg or Dan. I'm not sure who's next. Dan, there we go.
Thanks, Nate. So today, we continue to see investment by Microsoft in the finance and supply chain capabilities at an aggressive pace. I wanted to touch base on just a few key capabilities that we're going to see and are seeing in the 2023 Release 1 feature set. A few key items in the finance space are the following. First of all, the archiving of data. This is allowing the financial teams to archive data, but still allowing for the reporting and analyzing of that data. A second key item would be determining the posting of a disposal transaction, which allows the users to determine the posting details around a fixed asset disposal based on the business needs. The next one would be credit card payment refactory. The ability to see card transactions at several stages in the process. This is new. In the old stages, in the old functionality, it was a kind of a black box, single stage model. This allows us to better evaluate failure reasons and address the recovery processes. Next one would be defining the financial tags. A lot of financial groups are excited about this one. It's a great way to track user-defined fields on accounting entries posted to the general ledger, and tags can be used as an alternative to financial dimensions. Lastly, in the finance space would be support financial tags in the ledger settlement, both automated and manual. This is a powerful one as well when we get into the matching, and it's reducing the number of transactions that are having to be manually matched. The next item we have in the D365 finance supply chain space is the supply chain releases. A couple of planning ones, which are great. The new exception process for migrating to planning optimization, and this is allowing for the migration to planning optimization and replacement of the master planning capabilities. It really streamlines the process, and of course, the planning optimization is a huge win. We're seeing run times on master planning drop from hours to minutes in some cases. It's also another piece around this one is also capable of planning optimization one company at a time, so we can continue to use they can continue to use the deprecated master planning for a period of time for some companies while they migrate over to the planning optimization. Procurement has a new capability around improved security on the vendor bank account information updates, which ensures that the bank data that the suppliers submit is secure, financially compliant, and protected against fraud. This is starting to leading into some future release capabilities we're looking at in the future around GCC High and other things that are coming this summer. And then the final two items I wanted to talk about, product information management. Being able to share product information across legal entity boundaries is going to reduce the volume and simplify the maintenance of the data associated with that. And then another one that people are quite excited about is the warehouse license plate layouts. Being able to control license plate layouts is a big win. There's a few other ones on the list here around warehouse management. Probably the one I'll point out right here for the call would be around the warehouse groups, allowing to set up warehouse features across single group or groups or all warehouses at once. That's a huge one. And then the warehouse specific inventory transactions versus just inventory transactions. We are simplifying the data records around that with the inventory transactions being replaced by warehouse transactions. With that, I think we're going to turn it over to Greg.
Welcome. glad to be able to share some information about Business Central with you. Business Central is going through a Wave 1 release this spring. We're right in the middle of it from the April and May timeframe. I informally asked my team what features that they wanted to present. They had a ton, but we limited it to 3. So I'm going to show you the top 3 features from my team. You know, Business Central is a gap compliant system. We get a lot of clients coming to us from QuickBooks. QuickBooks is great for startups, but as companies mature and grow, auditors, banks, venture capitalists, equity stakeholders care and want to be on a gap compliant system. So gap compliant systems require a higher level of control when you're posting financial records. As an example, if you do a posted sales invoice and it now becomes part of the record, you can't just delete it as some systems would allow. It requires a change. Microsoft allows you to make that change through change records. You can delete an ad or you can actually change it, but behind the scenes, it is keeping a record of every change made to that posted financial record. In the past, there were many ledger entries that did not have another key feature that helps accountants with posting the right entry, and that's called preview posting. And so the ability to has been added to all of the bullets, and I'm not going to read them all, but the warehouse shipment and receipt, a couple of key ones there, the job journal, inventory shipments and inventory receipts. That preview posting allows the person posting to do a preview and see exactly what is going to hit the financial records. That saves a lot of time and reduces a lot of change orders that happen. In the past, that preview posting has not been available. So it's one of the key features. It's available almost on every single, I think it is, every single ledger entry that's in Business Central and allows for a much cleaner, easier way to do posting by doing the preview posting. Second feature that I wanted to highlight is adding statistical accounts. We've been asking for this for a long time. A lot of people would like to keep track of non-financial GL entries, just statistical ledger entries, basically. Whether you can come up with anything you want to measure. People use this for allocation schemes. People just want to track square meters, number of full-time employees, customers serving in a given marketing spend. The list is limitless. And nice thing, because of Power BI, it can pull from that statistical ledger entry and add context to a Power BI report that might be showing pure accounting information. So that statistical account feature, brand new, and take advantage of it. It can be really useful and helpful, especially as you're adding context to the reports and management reports and targets that you're seeing within your businesses. Last one I wanted to highlight, we in addition to QuickBooks, we have a lot of clients coming to us from Great Plains. We have a significant number of Great Plains users still out there, and Microsoft continues to improve their capability to migrate GP over to BC. I don't want to, it is not an easy button. It is not everything comes over, but they're helping mostly with the data and moving the data over into BC in a more streamlined programmatic way. So they've added new features in the GP to BC migration. You can take GP segments and move them to dimensions. Those are the ways that you take a general ledger and break it down into different dimensions. It helps to simplify your GL chart of accounts, and that has now been added. The modules that you can select or deselect to migrate over, for instance, a bank module, a payables module, the receivables module, open purchase orders, and the inventory module. You can select which ones you want to bring over. There's the ability to choose whether you want to bring over setup data as much as is possible and it's not complete, or master data, which master data you would like to bring over, and you can choose which master data you can bring over. Inactive records, you have the option to bring over inactive customers, vendors, checkbooks, items, and discontinued items. We recommend that that's usually defaulted to don't bring it over, but if you have a business reason to bring over some inactive records, you can do that. Customer classes can also come over, whether that's customer, vendor, or item classes. Those will bring over. You have ability to control your historical snapshot and what comes over to BC. And you can do it by company. So if you had an instance in GP where you had 3 companies, but you really only wanted to bring one over, you can now do that. In the past, you had to bring them all over. This data, other than master data, comes into archive tables. So it is not actually coming into the posted sales ledger entries or the posted vendor ledger entries, things like that. But it is bringing the data into where it's accessible as an archive within BC. Want to tell you of an example. We have a current customer going through what we call our Sherpa class, and they were moving off of GP. Our Sherpa program is a guided implementation. We live in the mountains here in Utah, and we're always using mountains as examples. So we teach to a group setting all that is needed to get your GL, AP, and AR converted over from whatever systems you're coming from. And we do that by teaching a series of workshops, the same workshops that we teach in our one-on-one sessions. But for this client that needed extra help in migrating their data because they were coming off GP. So we have and created for them a Sherpa hybrid model, or we call it Sherpa Pro, where they attended the live workshops, but we literally help them one initial setup and data loading and testing and support of that migration. So it was a nice way to use a tool from Microsoft within our Sherpa program to bring a client over and help them get to the top of the mountain. They still had to hike a little bit and do the effort as required, but we were able to help them with this hybrid model. I just call that out as an example that we're trying to always adapt and find a way to come to the solution that our clients need. And the Sherpa Pro hybrid model has been one that we tested and we're going to continue. For any of these, there's a ton of Wave 1 releases. For any of these, we'd like you can always reach us at support@JourneyTEAM.com. We have a team of people who help with migrations and who help with updates. And the call to action for you is send us an email at support@JourneyTEAM.com, whether you're an existing client or a future client, and we'd be glad to help you with learning about these new features and taking advantage if you're thinking about migrating. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Greg, and thanks to all of our presenters today. I know I learned a lot. And really quick, we're going to share some of our upcoming events with you. We have webinars coming up in June and July. We also have our Sherpa programs over the next few months. The next Tech Insider update will be August 22nd. And then later this year, we'll have our 30th anniversary Business Technology Summit. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We really appreciate you sharing your time, taking your time to be with us today. And we're looking forward to learning more to know how we can best serve you.